All right, let's start this deep dive somewhere unexpected. Key West, Florida. Imagine this. It's March 13th, 2008. Sunshine, vacation vibes, the NCAA tournaments on TV.
Sounds pretty idyllic.
Totally. Steve D is there with his two best friends, just kicking back. He reaches for a beer, and then bam, just like that. A massive heart attack, the kind they call the widowmaker.
And he experiences clinical death right there on the condo floor. It's a dramatic start, to say the least.
It really is, and that's the jumping off point for the incredible account we're unpacking today.
Yeah, and what makes Steve D's near-death experience, his NDE, so fascinating right from the get-go is this fundamental contradiction.
Exactly, because Stib described himself as, well, a big guy.
Yeah.
6'2", 265 pounds, very fit. His words were something like a big slab of humanity.
Physically imposing, definitely. But then the experience he actually had when his body shut down, it wasn't fading out, it wasn't confusion, it was hyper-awareness.
Yeah.
Crystal clear consciousness and these huge spiritual insights.
Right. That clash between the sheer physicality and this purely spiritual, incredibly lucid state, that's what we really want to explore.
That's the core of it, the physical versus the, well, non-physical.
So our mission today is to follow that consciousness. We'll look at the immediate out-of-body experience, or OBE, this incredible journey he describes, the whole concept of non-linear time he encountered, and the fundamental lessons about love and existence that just completely changed his life afterward.
Okay, let's get into it.
So that moment of collapse, he remembers turning to leave the room, a faint feeling of falling, and then instantly he's not in his body anymore.
He's floating, high up, outside himself, watching the scene.
Yeah, and he specifically said he didn't feel himself leave. It wasn't a process. One moment he was turning, the next he was just there, detached.
And the crucial thing here, for you listening, is the quality of that awareness. Usually you'd think clinical death means everything fades to black, right? Confusion, maybe?
Right. You'd expect less awareness, not more.
But Steve reported the total opposite. He said, and this is a direct quote, more consciousness and alertness than normal.
More than normal. While his body is clinically dead, he wasn't just passively watching either, was he? It was like sensory overload.
Completely.
Oh.
He said he was aware of everything happening around me, every sight, every sound, the smell, even the emotions of his friends who were understandably panicking.
He even mentioned sensing the breath of the people watching. How does that even work? How does that square with his brain essentially being offline?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It challenges our basic understanding of consciousness and the brain. His awareness was completely untethered from his physical body, yet it was incredibly sharp. Precise, even.
And he still had his sense of humor, apparently.
Yeah. Yes, that part is amazing. He's watching the EMTs arrive, and they're having a tough time on these narrow, awkward stairs leading up to the condo.
Trying to figure out how to get his body out.
Exactly. And Steve, floating maybe 2 stories up, is watching this logistical mess unfold. And he remembers laughing inwardly, thinking, and I quote again, "There's no way they're getting that guy to the ambulance."
Wow. Laughing at the absurdity of his own deceased body being an inconvenience. That detachment, it's hard to fathom.
It really is. That split between the observing self and the physical self. And it seems that moment, that bit of ironic observation, was his last real tie to that physical scene.
He mentioned seeing a crowd gathering outside, too.
Yeah, a large crowd. And he specifically recalled making eye contact with a kid, a dark-haired kid, just for a moment. And then suddenly he was gone from there, too.
Gone where? What happened next?
The departure was, well, intense doesn't quite cover it. He said he shot off at indescribable speed. It wasn't like moving through space. It was almost like becoming speed itself.
He used the Star Wars comparison, didn't he? Like going into light speed. It sounds a bit cliche, but maybe that's the only way to describe it.
It's a common reference, yeah. Gives you a visual, even if it's purely subjective. But the effect of that speed is what's really important here. It triggered this radical shift in his senses.
Okay, tell us about that. The colors and sounds.
The colors first. He called them kaleidoscopic. So bright and dynamic that I really cannot describe them. But here's the amazing part. It wasn't just seeing them. He felt the colors.
Felt them? How?
He said they radiated feelings, like the colors themselves were emotions or information that he was absorbing visually. It wasn't just light hitting his retina, it was something much deeper.
So sight became feeling? What about hearing?
Hearing was also transformed, not just sounds, but described as an unreal, beautiful melody. Everything was interconnected. unified in a way we just don't experience normally.
Senses merging. That's incredible.
But maybe the most profound shift wasn't sensory, it was structural,
Mm.
about reality itself. While traveling at this impossible speed, the whole concept of time just dissolved.
Okay. This is where it gets really mind-bending. He said time stopped or lost all meaning. How did he even try to explain that?
His summary was simple but powerful. Eternity is a second eternity.
Eternity is a second.
Wow.
Wow. So infinite time and no time were somehow the same thing in that state.
That's the implication. It's one of the toughest parts of his NDE to really, wrap your head around from our linear perspective.
Definitely. I mean, our whole lives are built on time moving forward.
Yeah.
Past, present, future. If that just disappears, how do you even function or perceive?
Well, he didn't have to figure it out exactly. He described it as knowledge that was given to him, part of this sort of cosmic download. He learned quite clearly time is not linear.
Not linear. So what is it then?
He said all time is now, then, next, or whatever. It wasn't sequential. Past, present, future weren't lined up. They were all just there. Simultaneously accessible, maybe? Like different facets of the same moment.
All time existing at once. That's a huge concept to absorb, especially when just minutes before you were watching EMTs on some stairs.
It's staggering. But this journey, this flight through nonlinear reality, it did have a destination. He started to slow down.
And where did he arrive?
He found himself facing what he described as a wondrous glowing ball of light. And his immediate understanding, his immediate feeling, was that this was the radiant presence and glory of the Creator, Almighty God.
Okay. So he arrives in this presence, and this is where the life review happens. He said his whole life flashed before him.
Yes, but critically, not like a movie playing scene by scene. He stressed it happened all at once, simultaneously.
All at once? How does that even work? Every single moment.
Imagine every memory, every action, every consequence, every feeling, euphoria, laughter, sadness, regret, all hitting him in a single unified instant. It wasn't sequential. It was a total simultaneous perception of his entire existence.
Overwhelming doesn't seem strong enough. Was there judgment in it?
No, he was clear about that. No judgment, just this. Pure awareness. Understanding cause and effect, seeing the whole tapestry at once.
And from that incredibly intense review, what was the main message? What did this presence, this light, communicate?
The communication wasn't auditory, more like a direct knowing, instantly understood. And the message was simple. Love is all that matters.
Love. That's a common theme in NDEs, isn't it?
It is, but the scope of the love he described was enormous.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just about loving family or friends the way we usually think of it. It was a universal imperative.
Universal how?
It extended to all fellow humans, absolutely, but also love and respect for the earth, for the birds, animals, and even insects. Total inclusivity.
Why insects even? What was the reasoning?
The reason given was profound. All things are from our Creator, and we are all, everything connected at every level. That was the key insight, connection.
Everything is connected. He felt this down to the atomic level, right? Like fundamentally, we're all made of the same stuff.
Exactly. That realization that the particles making up his body, the floor, the air, other people, it's all intrinsically linked. There's no real separation.
If there's no separation, what does that do to your sense of being an individual, an ego?
It basically dissolves it. If you're fundamentally connected to everything, the idea of a separate me doesn't hold up in the same way. And this understanding underpinned the other major knowledge he received. He learned about eternal existence. And this is a big one. We live thousands of lives for a multitude of reasons.
Thousands of lives. Wow, okay, that changes everything. If we keep coming back, what did he learn about why life can be so hard sometimes? The pain, the struggles.
He was shown that these things, challenges, pain, hardship, they aren't random or purely negative.
Yeah.
They are, in his words, necessary.
Necessary for what?
Necessary for growth, for learning, for understanding and integrating that core principle of love. It's like if you have thousands of lifetimes, these difficulties are just part of the curriculum, different lessons you need to learn across different semesters, if you will.
That perspective really reframes suffering. And all this new knowledge must have had a huge impact on his existing beliefs. He was Christian before this, right? Deeply religious.
Yes, he had a strong Christian faith. And interestingly, that core belief in a creator didn't vanish. It actually deepened. But his understanding of how people connect with that creator was completely blown open.
How so?
He specifically mentioned getting insights into or experiencing the essence of Islamic beliefs, even though he had absolutely zero prior knowledge about Islam.
Really? That's fascinating. Experiencing another faith tradition from the inside, essentially.
It seems like it. And it led him to a radical conclusion, especially for someone grounded in one specific faith.
Which one?
He came back believing that the Creator doesn't really care how we acknowledge him, just that we do. The specific rituals, the dogma, the different paths, those are human constructs.
So the intention behind the acknowledgement, the love and connection, that's what matters, not the specific religious label.
Precisely. It gave him this incredibly broad, inclusive view of spirituality that went way beyond any single religion. The form is earthly. The essence is divine connection.
Okay, so he's received this unbelievable download. Universal connection, eternal life, thousands of lifetimes, the necessity of love, a broadened spiritual understanding. Then what? Does he just get to stay there?
He desperately wanted to, but no. He was basically told, okay, class dismissed, time to go back. He described reaching a barrier that I was not permitted to cross.
A barrier, like a point of no return he hadn't reached yet.
Something like that. Or maybe just the boundary of that particular experience.
Yeah.
Either way, he felt he was sent back very much against his will. He wanted to stay in that light and that understanding.
And the return wasn't gentle, I gather.
Not at all. He described it as jarring. A sudden, almost violent re-entry into the physical. Waking up in the hospital. And he did have some effects from the ordeal. Some brain damage, although thankfully his core personality, his self, was intact.
And the contrast between that cosmic awareness and waking up in a hospital bed must have been intense.
Absolutely. And his very first memory upon regaining consciousness perfectly captures that whiplash. He remembers complaining, quite bitterly apparently, that the hospital staff had ruined my beard.
His beard, why?
They'd had to shave off his mustache to get the oxygen mask to fit properly while they were reviving him.
Yeah.
So he goes from confronting the Creator and the nature of reality.
You're to being mad about his facial hair.
Exactly. It's almost darkly comic, but it really highlights that struggle of bringing the infinite back into the mundane, finite world.
And that struggle continued, didn't it? The aftermath wasn't simple.
Far from it. He reported large changes in my life. And it's this real paradox. On the one hand, incredible positives.
Like what?
He talked about having this profound, deep compassion and love he didn't have before. All his relationships became deeper, better, more loving. A huge positive transformation in how he connected with others.
That makes sense given the core message he received. But there was a downside, too.
Yes. Alongside the deep love, he also developed PTSD from the event. Vivid, troubling dreams. Intense anxiety sometimes.
How does that work? Deep compassion and PTSD living side by side.
It speaks to the sheer overwhelm, I think. It's like trying to pour the entire ocean into a teacup. His human mind, his nervous system, was exposed to something so vast, timelessness, universal connection, and then yanked back into our very limited linear reality. The PTSD could be a symptom of that psychic trauma, the whiplash of being untethered and then slammed back into the physical.
That makes a certain kind of sense. And there was something else, too, wasn't there? A new ability?
Right. He mentioned gaining what he called a psychic non-ordinary or other special gift, specifically relating to predicting future events.
Predicting the future. So maybe some of that nonlinear time awareness kind of leaked through, stayed with him.
That's one way to look at it. If all time is concurrent, as he experienced, maybe predicting the future is just having a slightly more porous veil, allowing him glimpses of the next that in that other reality already exists alongside the now.
So the PTSD, the intense love, the psychic ability, they're all maybe different ripples from the same huge stone dropped into the pond of his consciousness.
That's a good way to put it. Symptoms of a mind fundamentally altered by touching the edge of reality, or perhaps a deeper reality.
But through all the difficulty, the PTSD, the struggle to integrate, he remained absolutely certain about the experience itself.
Absolutely unwavering. He stated it was definitely real. Not a dream, not a hallucination. He said it remains the most vivid memory of his entire life. And crucially, he felt it put so much of his earlier life, his upbringing, into context.
Like it provided a missing piece of the puzzle for him.
Exactly. The knowledge he gained, even though he admits he still struggles to find the words for all of it, he considers priceless. It redefined everything.
So the takeaway for him, despite the challenges, is profound certainty and transformation.
Without a doubt. He went from being this, big physical guy dealing with everyday stuff to someone carrying the knowledge of eternal lives, nonlinear time, and universal love. The real ongoing task for him, the challenge, is living that. How do you translate that immense, timeless truth into daily actions, choices, relationships here in our linear world, It's an incredible weight to carry.
It really is. And that leaves us and you listening with a final thought to chew on. Steve was told he had to come back, right? He wasn't allowed to cross that final barrier yet.
Right. He was sent back against his will.
So if the ultimate point, the core message, is about developing this deep universal love and connection, what does that imply about crossing the barrier? What actions, what lessons learned, what connections forged or repaired here in this life might be the necessary ticket for him or any of us to finally be permitted to cross when our time really does come? What still needs completing?
Thank you for listening to Borrowed Time NDE podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss a moment of inspiration. Until next time, wishing you an extraordinary and truly wonderful time on your journey through life.